protesters are playing the national anthem as a sign of patriotism and saying that they are holding no guns, they are holding no weapons. They are basically just here empty-handed to protest and also send a message to the President of the Republic.
Grateful for the details. Which other notable persons, apart from EL, as earlier mentioned, are part of today's protest?
I see Etia Odo sitting on the floor or on the road, also adding to her voice to the protest. I saw John Tumelo earlier, and I even interviewed him to that effect. He said he's going to join them to the Jubilee House. But as of now, I don't see him in the crowd. I saw some musicians. I saw some comedian Waris, and a number of them also joined the protest from the beginning, adding their voice to the protest, calling their supporters to mass up and join this protest to make their voices heard.
Thank you so much. And that was my colleague Fred Duho reporting on that protest that was mad yesterday. But he has indicated that the protest has begun as scheduled. They are currently at the 37 military hospital on the street, actually, but the police are preventing them from getting to their destination, which is the Jubilee House, as intended. We'll bring you an update on this particular story. He indicated that there was musician E.L. Ifia Odo and comedian Waris who were among those who had arrived. Let's listen to some of them he spoke to earlier.
Demonstrates. So I'm here to show Ghanaians that I am full support for them. I'm here for Ghanaians and not for publicity or for fame, for anything, but I'm here to support Ghanaians. And I hope that the other celebrities who claim they love the Ghanaian people will also come and show support, because Ghana for now I'm support them. In times of need like this, Ghanaian celebrities need to stop being cowards and come out and show support.
I'm here to express my solidarity as a member of the music community.
Why didn't you join yesterday anyway?
I wasn't around yesterday. It was a very heavy day for me yesterday.
And what are they telling you?
Better late than never.
What are they telling you now that you're here? They're telling you.
They're telling us that they don't allow us. They don't want to allow us to gather here. They want us to go outside of the perimeter of the gathering grounds to conduct it. But we have a right to gather. We have a right to voice our concerns. So that's what I'm here to do, basically. I'm of the view. I've been of the view for the longest time that the Ghanaian is not absolutely free. We are fed up. We are tired of all these things that are going on in our economy. The government, the mismanagement, funds are just being mismanaged anyhow. So I'm here just to voice my concern and to show my solidarity and to stand with my brothers and sisters.
So you heard there's some protesters. Earlier you heard Ifia Odo and then musician E.L. We'll still stay with this particular issue and speak to the Executive Secretary of the National Peace Council, George Amu. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. I believe you followed what transpired yesterday during the protest organized by Democracy Hub. What do you make of the development?
All right. Thank you so much, and good afternoon to Ghanaians. I think that, first of all, it must be acknowledged that the constitution that we are using, the 1990 constitution, every Ghanaian has the right to demonstrate. It's a right that is carefully enshrined in our constitution, and that has to be protected and, jealously guarded. And I think that anybody, if there's a group who want to demonstrate in support of an activity or an action, or disagree with a particular position, I think our laws allow for that. And I think that the authorities should ensure, I think that is what has to happen, to ensure that such exercises, are done within the remit of the law or the permutations of the law. And those who are also exercising those rights must also respect, because rights are also exercised within a framework. Rights are not exercised within a vacuum. So that is what has to happen. And it's unfortunate yesterday it didn't go that way. Some have to be arrested, which is not too healthy for our democracy. I think that we need to create an environment, both the institutions of state, the police, and citizens. If you want to demonstrate, you also do it within the framework of the law. I think that is the few statements I'll make for now. That is what unfortunately didn't happen.
Okay, so some protesters were manhandled by the police yesterday. What steps is the council taking, or what steps will you take to address such issues and to ensure that citizens are treated better? Generally?
Yes, for us as a peace institution, our concern is to ensure that we put in place the mechanisms, or we facilitate the processes for peace of our people. What we can do in the circumstances is to appeal to the people, the organizers of the demonstration. If, for example, the police says, or police has gone to court to ask for an order, to probably injunct you from demonstrating or something, the same law can be used to overturn such things. I think all of us must recognize the fact that we are governed by rules. If one fails, usually there is another step that we can take to address the same failure. So I think that the demonstrators should not be worried. They should use the same laws to address any grievances they have. But I want to plead, for the sustenance of our peace. You don't also use insulting words when you are trying to enforce a right that you know that you rightly have. You don't need to go using violence ways or abusive words. If you do that, you are not also helping the system to ensure that your rights are protected or your rights, are ensured. So that is what we have to do. We are getting closer to next year's elections. We have responsibility as citizens, as institutions of state, to ensure that we create congenial environment for peace to take place. That is the only way we can sustain our democracy.
Okay, so my next question was going to be your advice to the protesters, which you have already mentioned. But what do you make of the police posture yesterday and how they handled issues?
To be very frank, yesterday I had so many things I didn't even watch. It is this morning that I got all the information, early morning. So the pictures, I haven't seen much of it. I took some few from social media. So I cannot, figure out how the whole incident began. But wherever it is, I think that let us become, this should not be a way to disturb the peace that we have. There are still channels for addressing the grievances if they still exist. I think let us use them. It may take time, but however long it takes, I would get the answers we require. Otherwise, the people will see. We all see. So let us follow the rules. That is my plea to the demonstrators and also to our police service and our security agencies. Let us create the environment for people to exercise their rights. Let us do that. It is better to allow people to vent their grievances than to let them keep them. It is healthy.
Finally, beyond the media engagements or conversations that you're having with us, do you have plans of calling the organizers of this protest as they intend to have another demonstration tomorrow? Do you intend to speak to them to get them to tone down or calm down?
My advice is that they cannot use lawlessness, this one in quotes, to address a perceived lawlessness. So if you have not been permitted by the same arrangement that gave you the right, you would have to exercise restraint. So if it is not allowed, or if there's an injunction, if there is your plan to go on demonstration has been curtailed by the same institutions or structures of state, just don't do it. If you do, then you are also not being lawful. So let us respect the laws. I am sure if you don't do it tomorrow, there will be another day. Either the following day or next week, it will still be done. So let us all respect the law for the sake of our democracy. If we allow such not too, strong issues to divide us, further and further, then we are opening up for insurgents who are lurking around, to come and hurt our democracy. Our children are going to be, the sufferers of such things. So we should all be thinking deep and protecting our democracy, just for the sake of posterity.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time. That was George Amu, who is the Executive Secretary of the National Peace Council.
Now, founder of Media Foundation for West Africa, Professor Kwame Kakari, has called on media organizations to boycott activities of the Ghana Police Service in protest of the numerous assault cases suffered by journalists at the hands of police personnel. This follows the manhandling of some reporters by police during yesterday's demonstration by Democracy Hub. Journalists, including a BBC reporter and a cameraman, were arrested, while Metro TV's Bridget Otu was roughed up by the police. Responding to yesterday's event, Professor Kakari says media companies must boycott the police.
If I was an editor or a manager of a major radio station that will influence, that the majority of people respect and listen to, I would boycott covering anything about the police and tell them we are boycotting anything concerned with the police because you are not treating us with the respect we have in our constitution. Not the respect we need, but the respect we have in our constitution. This is what I would advise media organizations that are respectable, and also that are serving the people in ways that the media must serve. This is what I would do. I would go to this extent of boycotting, covering anything the police in this country do.
Professor Kwame Kakari also encouraged the police to allow peaceful demonstrations.
What is it that the police, what makes our police so jittery, so jittery and so nervous about demonstrations in this country? Are there any demonstrations in this country, in this Fourth Republic, where the people have been wielding arms, or where the people have gone on a rampage, destroying life, property, and all of that, causing accident and so on? What kinds of violent demonstrations have we had that makes our police so jittery, so sensitive, and also so insensitive about citizens expressing their right to demonstrate, which is a right of freedom of expression? It doesn't matter what party, what organization. For as long as it is a legitimate party, a legitimate legal organization of citizens, they have every right to demonstrate. Well, what is it that makes our police so opposed to demonstrations?
Professor Kwame Kakari is founder of Media Foundation for West Africa.
We'll still stay on this issue. The Ghana Journalists Association has issued a statement, and I'll read excerpts of that statement signed by the General Secretary, Kofi Yeboah. It reads that the Ghana Journalists Association condemns the Ghana Police Service in no uncertain terms for arresting and maltreating some journalists covering Thursday's demonstration in Accra. In our estimation, the conduct of the police was highly unprofessional, absolutely unwarranted, and inherently repugnant to press freedom and the dignity of the affected journalists. The GJA believes the conduct of the police in arresting and maltreating innocent journalists was distasteful, but if the police wish to add salt to it, they must not rub it in the wounds of the affected journalists, as a police press release sought to do. We therefore call on the police to exercise utmost good faith and render an unqualified apology to all journalists who were wrongfully arrested and or maltreated by the police just because they journalists were discharging an onerous constitutional mandate. The GJA expresses its heartfelt sympathy to the affected journalists and wish them speedy recovery from the bodily and emotional harm they suffered at the hands of the police for no crime committed. We wish to encourage the media fraternity to remain resolute to their calling and never be intimidated by such attacks against their person in particular and media freedom in general. That's a statement signed by General Secretary of the GJA, Kofi Yeboah. This is still City Prime News coming to you live from our studio at Adabraka in Accra. Still to come, one dead after a gas explosion at the oxygen unit of the Eastern Regional Hospital. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
City Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
Using a condom will protect you and your partner from HIV, STIs, and unplanned pregnancy. Condoms are an effective way for protection against HIV infection. Don't take risks. Use a condom every time. Always come prepared.
This advert is brought to you by the Ghana AIDS Commission and Ghana Health Service.
Are you faced with this challenge and will want to learn more about automobile maintenance to avoid such frustrating moments? Tune in every Thursday at 4 p.m. on 97.3 Citi FM as we bring you the solutions to all your automobile problems on the Total Energies Auto Show, proudly sponsored by Total Energies Ghana.
City Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
You all come back. Now, the Ashanti Regional Office of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, is calling on the National Peace Council to speak out on concerns raised by political parties and interest groups in the ongoing limited voter registration exercise. The NDC says the council is silent despite concerns against the Electoral Commission's decision to make the exercise a centralized one. Speaking at a peace symposium in Kumasi, Ashanti Regional Director of Interparty and Civil Society Groups of the NDC, Matthew Njokoni, says the continued silence of the Peace Council on this matter is worrying.
The decision of the EC to do the registration at these centers is depriving many young Ghanaian voters who are or who do not have the economic power to travel to these centers to get themselves registered. Many well-meaning Ghanaians and civil society organizations have condemned this decision of the Electoral Commission, and the opposition political parties have sued the EC against this. Unfortunately, the voice of the Peace Council is still missing in the voices of condemnation currently ensuing against the EC. This is very strange, and it begs the question whether the Peace Council is indeed a peace council. Or they are, I don't want to say they are condoning violence, but the question still remains whether the Peace Council is a peace council. We are saying this because these are some of the conducts that have the propensity to throw our country into chaos, and we must all speak up against that. The confidence of the public in the Peace Council, let me say, used to be very high. But if, as the Peace Council sits quietly to allow this to pass, in fact, that confidence is fast eroding.
Matthew Njokone is the Ashanti Regional Director of the Interparty and Civil Society Groups of the National Democratic Congress. The Peace Council, in response, says it is still engaging key stakeholders on the concerns raised. Reverend Imano Bidu is the Ashanti Regional Executive Secretary of the Peace Council.
I can tell you on right evidence that the National Peace Council has seen the chairman and his board for more than on the date of September 4th and 5th. they had an engagement, continuous engagement. If you have engagement more than 2, 3, now you know where the engagement is going. Then on that engagement, then let's see if this is what the people have decided before Peace Council will come in. So we because of the neutrality, if you do this, if you do this, say you are here, and you have to play your neutral card very well. So it is very important that this issue has come up with what is going on, the concern. When we went to the field, let me give you one example of Drobonso. The farthest place is Enyinofi. And it takes 8 hours to go to constituency, where the constituency office is. Everywhere we go, we ask this question. So with that, as a neutral body, what do you do with this information? You put all of them together, you bring an argument, and you tell the people that this and so thing, it does not work well.
You had the Ashanti Regional Executive Secretary of the Peace Council, Reverend Emmanuel Bedu.
Now, police in the Upper East region have picked up some persons for their alleged involvement in yesterday's shooting at Pussiga. 9 persons were shot dead by some unknown assailants in Pussiga after their buses were blocked at the Bewa College of Education police barrier while on their way to Boku from Sinkasi in neighboring Togo. The incident has been condemned by the Member of Parliament for the area and various interest groups. Speaking to Citi News, the District Chief Executive for Pussiga, Abdullahi Zubeiru, said the District Security Committee will meet to decide on how best to prevent a possible reoccurrence of such incident.
We are picking information that the military and the other state agencies have made some arrests. We are here to confirm. They are still doing operations, so when they are done, we'll be able to get the reliable information. I think one of the measures that was put in place was to provide an escort for people who want to travel along the highway to Sankasi to treat. And that was the reason why you saw that this incident happened when there was an escort with the vehicle. So it's just that the criminals are always ahead of the system. If not, the 2 vehicles were going with an escort and they still managed to attack the vehicle with the police officers. So we met and then we are deploying another strategy. We are still drawing stages. I'm sure when we are done with the new strategy that we are going to deploy, communicate to them. But Pussiga is calm. Pussiga is calm. But the unfortunate thing happened, but nobody within Pussiga was directly affected or involved. So all the injured people are people from other communities. But in Pussiga, there wasn't any person who was directly affected.
You heard the District Chief Executive for Pussiga, Abdullahi Zubeiru.
Officials of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, are expected to arrive in the country by Monday for the first official review of its program with Ghana. Government has already expressed readiness to meet the fund as it has satisfied the requirements to unlock the second disbursement of $600 million in November to support its balance of payments. This assessment will be over the implementation of Ghana's post-COVID-19 economic recovery program under the $3 billion bailout. Economist Dr. Patrick Esuming is optimistic Ghana will be able to secure the second tranche to restore macroeconomic stability. He tells Citi News that based on some resilient economic reforms, Ghana stands a chance.
Based on the indicators and the actions that have been taken so far, you expect that the IMF, the staff will recommend and probably the board will approve that the next tranche is paid. I think, some of the indicators have stabilized. Some have probably marginally improved. But if you look at the actions that government is supposed to take, for the upcoming review, the legal framework that has to be done, changing the Bank of Ghana Act to curtail BOG lending to the government and related matters, and then also passing or bringing in some of the new measures to bring more revenue. You got a sense that the government has done enough. So my expectation is that when the IMF team come on board, they will probably find the progress made favorable enough to approve the next tranche.
You heard economist Dr. Patrick Esuming.
A gas explosion, which occurred last night at the oxygen unit of the Eastern Regional Hospital in Koforidua, has led to the death of a security personnel. It is unclear what caused the explosion, but 2 other health workers who were also in the building at the time of the incident escaped unhurt. The deceased, who sustained head injuries, received immediate medical attention and was rushed to the intensive care unit of the hospital. He succumbed to his injuries, although he was placed on a ventilator. Meanwhile, management of the hospital has informed the family of the deceased about the incident and are cooperating with the police, who have started investigating the matter.
Serene coastal communities in the Volta region are currently grappling with the aftermath of destructive tidal waves that have wreaked havoc along the coastline. Residents in this part of the region find themselves in a state of distress as their homes and livelihoods face the relentless force of nature. Over the past week, Keta, Aflao, Angloga and some other communities have been battered by a series of tidal waves, a recurring natural disaster that has plagued the area for years. Families are forced to evacuate their homes seeking shelter in makeshift camps as their once thriving fishing villages are swallowed by the surging sea. Assembly member for the Abutiakope Electoral area, Promise Bacha, spoke on the issue.
Yeah, from this dawn around 2 this morning, Wednesday, we have experienced a heavy sea tidal waves. That is different from the one that we have experienced in the past. The sea has risen very highly above and is flowing into the community. It has flown into people's houses. People's houses are flooded by sea water. Their bedrooms are flooded. Their kitchen and the place that they live, they are all flooded with the seawater, thereby displacing many people. It's a very horrible and very unfortunate situation right now. That the basic livelihood of the people, especially the women, they are the fishmongers. So their places of work are all flooded with water. And in fact, most of them are complaining of how they are going to survive, especially in this season and time. And so it's very, very unfortunate situation.
You heard the assembly member for the Abutiakope Electoral area in Keta, Promise Bacha.
The Ghana Central Municipal Assembly is actively addressing the recurring issues of flooding in the area. The Assembly has announced the construction of sufficient number of drains and bridges. They have requested patience from residents as they secure funds for these drainage systems. The following report has more details.
In certain parts of the Ghana Central Municipality, frequent flooding occurs during rainy seasons. Communities like Santa Maria, Antieku, Kwashibu, Agape Top, and others often suffer from these heavy rains. To combat this issue, the Ghana Central Municipal Assembly is putting in place dedicated efforts. Following the inauguration of a 10-meter vehicular culvert bridge over the Lafa River, linking Kwashibu to Racecourse to Tabora, Mohamed Bashiru Kamara, the Municipal Chief Executive for Ghana Central, expressed a strong commitment to resolving the persistent flooding problem in the municipality.
When you are coming all the way from Tabora, from Chantai, from Tantra Hill, from Amasama, and from wherever, and we want to connect to the other side, you don't have to go all the way to Tabora number 2 to link through Racecourse before getting to wherever you are going. Shortcut, you just pass here and then you are there. The same way when you are coming from Santa Maria, from Soto, from Israel, from Kwashibu, you just have to link through this place and you are in Tabora. So you see how the importance of this particular culvert that we are standing on today. Government is really ensuring that, we bring development to the people. So let me say to everybody that, as they can say, you are not very comfortable when, if development delays, people embark on demonstrations. It's not the best.
Members of the Assembly representing the Racecourse Electoral Area, Asafo Ejay, and Tabora Electoral Area, Fifi Graham, have pointed out that the newly constructed bridge will ease the burden on residents. They also appealed for additional development projects in the area.
Before, when the school children and the community, this is a river, we call it River Lafa. Then we don't have any access to the next community. When the school children go to school to other community, they pass through the river. But I did a wooden structure, and just early this year, during the rainfall, the rain spoiled the old structure. So it is our prayer that we lodge the complaint to the municipal assembly. He told us that we shouldn't worry. He liaised with the urban rules and the hydrological department. Now, as Honorable Basiru told me, now we have done it. So previously it was bad, but as of now, by God willing, Honorable Basiru have done it for us. As we are speaking, we have the only major road that I want to talk about is Kwashibu Road. Now, Racecourse, we don't have problem with the road, but Kwashibu is the only road that connects to Kwashibu and Santa Maria. It is long overdue.
First of all, let me thank our Honorable MC for such a wonderful job done. Yes, this has been the cry of these two electoral areas for all this while. Thank God that today it has come to light. And this is not only our plea. There are more to that. And I believe that as we have started from one, definitely we will get to the end. And I know that it takes time, it takes resources and stuff. Since we are pushing him, I believe that he will also put in his best to see to that at least the needs of Tabora is met. For development, yes, we have a lot of bridges that cut across this electoral area. All has to do with what we are seeing today. And I believe that this will not be the end of it, but it will still keep on for us to see the light that we are looking for.
Philip Nilate put together that report.
From the Greater Accra region, let's move to the Savannah region, where residents of Buipe in the central Gonja district, whose homes have been engulfed by floodwaters, are now expressing their preference for a permanent solution over government relief items. This year's floods have affected over 1,000 people across 3 communities, including the Buipe township. The situation is as a result of the Black River Volta overflowing its banks, exacerbated by continuous heavy rainfall in the area. There is more in this report by our Savannah regional correspondent, Richard Fogo.
The National Disaster Management Organization reports that more than 500 households residing in over 100 houses have been displaced. Cameras from Citi News captured houses submerged up to their windows. Some of the displaced individuals are staying with relatives, while others have sought refuge in shops. With additional rainfall anticipated in the coming days and into October, many more houses are at risk of being submerged. Buipe's affected residents are urging the government to prioritize a lasting solution to this recurrent problem, attributing the flooding to recent sun-winning activities and emphasizing the need to reclaim the area.
One of the issues is to relocate the people around this particular area. And as to whether people can be relocated with equal measure is a problem. And the second issue is to, especially for this particular area, although the water passes through a place that has been sun-wined before. So I believe if the place was reclaimed or still reclaimed to a higher level, the water cannot get to this particular side because we are not just by the river side. So I think this could help.
Meanwhile, NADMO has not yet provided assistance to the victims, leaving the affected residents awaiting aid.
Working with the education director to aid that they release one of the schools as they did for us last year. We are in collaboration with Red Cross. Last year, they helped us with shelter to accommodate some of the affected victims. As we expect, maybe from tomorrow onwards, we will call on all the affected people who cannot find places to lay their heads to get accommodation in one of the schools.
For the over 540 households in over 100 houses here in Buipe who are suffering the ordeal of the floods you see behind me, the relief they want from government this year is not food, shelter, or mattresses. All they want is government to find a permanent solution to this problem. For City News, I am Richard Fogo. We pay.
You're still listening to Citi Prime News. My name is Zoe Abubedu Ado, and I'm here with
Charles Owusukumi.
Still to come, we'll take you to the Electoral Commission headquarters, where civil society group Justice for Ghana is organizing a sit-down protest. We'll tell you what their reasons are for organizing this protest. Please stay with us.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
Happy birthday to you. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
Throughout all life-changing moments such as graduations, weddings, funerals, birthdays, ATL is there to ensure you're never out of style. When you think fabric, think ATL. Log on to atlfabrics.com. Order and buy your favorite ATL fabric. You can also visit our shop at number 40 Kwame Nkrumah Avenue, opposite the Swansea Shopping Arcade at Accra Central. Also available in leading fabric dealer shops in Accra, Kumasi, and Cape Coast. ATL, bringing fabric to life.
Calling all Swesco old students. Join us for a night of nostalgia and celebration at the Swesco All-Year Group's Alumni Dinner Dance and launch of our 65th anniversary. It's time to dust off your dancing shoes and relive the Swesco experience. Whether you graduated last year or decades ago, this event is the perfect opportunity to reconnect with old friends, reminisce about your time at Swedro Secondary School, Swesco, and create new memories. The evening will be filled with good music, great interactions, and lots of fun. Get ready to hit the dance floor as our band plays all the classic hits that will transport you back to your school days. From the timeless tunes of the 60s to the chart toppers of the 90s, there will be something for everyone to groove to. Indulge in a delicious three-course meal prepared by our talented chefs who will ensure that your taste buds are treated to culinary delights. From appetizers to main courses and delectable desserts, you'll be in for a gastronomic experience that will leave you wanting more. It's on Saturday, 23rd of September 2023 at 6 p.m. prompt. It's going to be at the Adaikese Hall, La Palm Royal Beach Hotel, and it's 550 Ghana cedis per head. There'll be the launch of our 65th anniversary activities and logo. Tickets are available now, and seating will be done according to year groups. For more information and ticket purchases, please call 0241 951405 or 0244 387308 or your year group president. Semper Cum Optimus, always with the best.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
You all come back. In response to Citi News' compelling expose on the dire living conditions endured by the immigration officers stationed at the Larabanga post near Napali within the Zabzugu district, there's finally a glimmer of hope on the horizon. The situation at this post has been nothing short of deplorable, with officers contending daily with threats from reptiles and a lack of basic convenience. The Member of Parliament for Zabzugu, the Honourable John Binam Jabba, was deeply moved by the plight of these officers, prompting him to take action. Our Northern Regional Correspondent, Aminu Alaibura, has more.
The immigration officers stationed at the Labanga post expressed their profound gratitude to Citi News for shedding light on their dire living conditions, which has now spurred meaningful change. Citi News, in two separate instances, brought to the public's attention the appalling conditions at the Labanga post, where officers were compelled to engage in open defecation, exposing themselves to dangerous reptiles. These dedicated officers had been living in rudimentary tent accommodations, devoid of lighting and proper washroom facilities. Remarkably, both male and female officers had to share these inadequate amenities. Upon learning of this distressing situation, the Member of Parliament for Zabzugu
Zabzugu, John Binam Jaba, stepped in to provide a solution. He has officially inaugurated the construction of decent accommodation for the officers, complete with essential facilities such as offices and detention rooms.
This facility we're putting up here is going to be of two-way. We'll have a residential facility for the female and then a residential facility for the male. We'll have residential washroom for, we'll have a washroom for the female, we'll have a washroom for the male. And then we'll also have at the center a place for them to use as their kitchen. It's in a very rare place. You can't get food here to buy and all that. We intend giving them a borehole. With the borehole, they will have electricity, they have borehole, they have washrooms and all that. It will be more or less a major checkpoint or station for them. So we intend, all things being well, making this place a permanent place for them. I am using funds from my common fund, my MP share of the common fund, to put up this project. And the district engineer has given the contractor at least 6 months.
During the groundbreaking ceremony, the district chief executive for Zabzugu, Honorable Ahmed Idrisu Adakwa, underscored the pivotal role played by the immigration service in bolstering security efforts within the district.
And we've been here on several occasions until the district commander requested that if something could be done for this place to be given a facelift, for them to have accommodation for our men. Frankly speaking, as we see today, the immigration officers are helping us enormously. They are complementing the efforts of the police. Their presence here is doing us a very good job. Yes, there are some little bit of teething problems that cause this particular situation. On our side, we've decided that we need to give them, because when we ask them to come, because everything is now set, but they ask of their own water problem over there, and then electricity to be extended to the facility.
The officer in charge of the Labanga Post, Deputy Superintendent of Immigration, Kennedy Tenzag, couldn't contain his excitement as he expressed gratitude to the honorable member for initiating this project. He also extended his appreciation to Citi News for bringing attention to their predicament, which has yielded positive outcomes.
On behalf of the Controller General of Ghana Immigration Service, the Regional Commander for Northern Region, and then the Sector Commander Tatale, to thank the Member of Parliament for Zabzugu constituency, the DCE, and then Citi TV as well, for the effort that you have made. In fact, your first report you gave about this checkpoint, in fact, I can say has gotten some fruits today. Yes, so I want to thank them for this effort. This is actually going to ginger our men who come here. With the numerous sicknesses we come to get here, with the mosquitoes and snakes we come to live with here, I think with this structure, we are good to go. And this is really going to ginger my men a lot to serve Ghana better.
The MP's commitment extends to addressing infrastructural needs throughout the district. To date, he has launched 10 projects in various communities, each with its own unique purpose.
Ni Lati read that report filed by Muhammad Aminu Alabira.
Civil society group Justice for Ghana has joined calls for the Electoral Commission to decentralize the limited voters registration exercise at its district offices by establishing more registration centers across the country. This decision comes in response to criticism from stakeholders over the EC's insistence on exclusively conducting the limited voters registration at its district offices. Speaking to Citi News during the group's sit-down protest at the Electoral Commission's headquarters in Accra, convener for Justice for Ghana, Selom Dramado Dramani, stressed that the Electoral Commission's position is likely to disenfranchise qualified voters.
Which is that the Electoral Commission should open more centers for Ghanaians to get their Ghanaians who are qualified to get their names onto the electoral roll, because the Constitution of Ghana has clearly outlined the functions of the Electoral Commission, which functions are A, the Electoral Commission shall compile the register of voters and revise it as at such periods as may be determined by law. B, to demarcate electoral boundaries for both national and local governments. C, to conduct public elections and referendum. D, to educate the people on the electoral process and its purpose. E, the E is the alpha and omega of our demand, of our objective here.
That was convener of the civil society group Justice for Ghana, Salom Dramado Dramani.
The Ministry of Energy has debunked assertions by the minority in Parliament that the GMPC Letasco refinancing deal is being done without recourse to parliamentary approval. Earlier this week, the minority in Parliament called for a halt to the government's plans to utilize proceeds from the 10 oil field as collateral for a $431 million loan facility from Letasco, claiming that this arrangement is illegal. The caucus raised red flags that the 10 oil field would be required to produce a minimum of 3.8 million barrels of crude oil each year for Letasco, but in a statement issued today, the Ministry of Energy rejected these concerns, describing them as commentary anchored on political expediency. Here are excerpts.
The Energy Ministry in a statement explained that Parliament Mines and Energy Committee has requested that the terms and conditions of the loan be brought to Parliament in line with the oversight functions of the House. The document is now due for Parliament when the House reconvenes mid-October for approval. It is clear that GNPC needed to meticulously finalize the terms and conditions of the facility and obtain the necessary procedural approvals ahead of the final parliamentary approval. The Ministry therefore struggles to establish why the ranking member and the minority group, given their expected knowledge of these procedural requirements, would allege wrongdoing on the part of government actors and, in fact, impugn the integrity of even His Excellency the President, when indeed what is being done is in line with law, propriety, and in fact the principles of good governance. The only possible reason one can latch onto for the minority's action is to cause disaffection for government for possible electoral gains given the proximity to the electioneering campaign season. We, on the back of the above stated incontrovertible facts, reject outrightly the inaccurate claims by the ranking member and his colleagues to the effect that the facility is being procured clandestinely and not in accordance with law. We wish to caution that these hasty claims of a mirage of some misdeed on the part of government, obviously for political benefit, will as a matter of fact continue to denigrate the reputation. The general public is therefore asked to completely disregard the statement by the minority and treat it with the utmost contempt it deserves.
Those were excerpts of a statement from the Ministry of Energy fighting off assertions of wrongdoing by the minority over the GNPC Letasco refinancing deal.
Waste management company Zoomlion Ghana Limited has described as unfortunate the pronouncements by the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee cautioning Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assemblies against contract renewals with Zoomlion. The chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, James Kluche Aveji, at the committee's meeting in Ho, indicated that Parliament has sanctioned the non-renewal of Zoomlion's contract, but Zoomlion Ghana Limited, in a statement reacting to the comments, expressed worry, adding that it has always fulfilled its contractual obligations to the Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assemblies. Here are excerpts of the statement read to you by Citi News' Wilma Obobisa-Coleman.
The company finds it unfortunate that such a directive will be given regarding our fumigation contracts with MMDAs, whereas the two parties have not been brought together to discuss any contractual issues. It is crucial to highlight that Zoomlion Ghana Limited operates with the utmost integrity and professionalism, and we have consistently upheld our contractual obligations with the MMDAs. Following the PAC hearing, there has been no adverse report or further queries from the PAC suggesting any irregularities with Zoomlion's performance. This, to us, indicates that the PAC was satisfied with the explanation and evidence we provided during the hearing. It is therefore surprising to us hearing such damaging reportage from the chair of the PAC. We firmly believe that this is in the best interest of and fairness to all parties involved to engage in open and constructive dialogue rather than resorting to actions and pronouncements that may tarnish the image of the country. Over the years, Zoom Lion has consistently delivered world-class waste management services to various MMDAs, resulting in a significant reduction in sanitation-related health issues across the country. We remain committed to upholding the highest standards of service delivery and compliance with all contractual obligations.
You heard excerpts of a statement from Zoom Lion Ghana Limited responding to the Public Accounts Committee's caution to Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assemblies against contract renewals with it. It was read to you by Citi News' Wilma Obobisa-Coleman.
Now, authorities of the Swedro Senior High School in the Central Region say the lack of adequate accommodation for teachers on campus is negatively affecting teaching and learning activities. The school management is also worried that the school's incomplete fence wall now serves as a route for stray animals, while students also take advantage of the situation to use the same route as an exit to town, thus making it difficult for students to be monitored. Headmistress of the school, Golda Esi Andam, enumerated these challenges to Citi News after an old student, Dr. George Ejokum Donko, with support from the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, supported the school with a bungalow.
The student population is that huge. We have over 4,000 students. That's first year, second year, and third year. But because we run the transition calendar, we always have 2-year groups in school, and then 1-year group will be at home. And with this student population, that is quite huge. The number of teachers who stay on campus is really inadequate. I had to appeal to the board because management had thought about it. How could we try and solve that problem? And one old student, Dr. George Ajikumudongo of EBIT, decided to come and support us with one for his family. And then again, the EBIT Bank also decided to support us with 2 of such units. That's the story building. And so as we speak, we'll have 6 teachers coming on board to stay on campus and then help with monitoring and evaluation, which we know would be of very great impact.
That was the headmistress of the Swedru Senior High School, Golda Esi Andam. And that's it for Citi Prime News, which has been live from our studio at Adabraka in Accra. For more news, log on to citynewsroom.com. My name is Zoe Abubedo Ado, and I did this with
Charles Owusukumi.
Many thanks for your time.